The city of Halcyon was already coughing smoke when the first case went unnoticed. A dock worker named Elias staggered into the emergency ward, feverish, muttering that fire danced behind his eyes. The physicians assumed it was another outbreak of dust lung from the shipyards. They were wrong. By morning, Elias's body had shifted, his muscles corded, his veins glowed faintly under his skin. And when restraints were placed around his wrists, he snapped them like twigs. He escaped into the alleys, leaving behind splintered gurneys and 2 unconscious orderlies. Surveillance drones caught only fragments, a man moving too fast for cameras, sparks flickering in his wake. The doctors who examined his blood discovered something terrifying. A virus novel, elegant, and utterly alien, twisting human DNA like wet clay. They called it the catalyst strain. The strain spread faster than containment protocols could manage. It leapt across touch, breath, and water. By the second week, half the dock district was under military lockdown. By the third, entire neighborhoods flickered with chaos, some people writhing in fever, others awakening with impossible gifts, eyes that saw in darkness, hands that could bend steel, voices that could shatter glass. At first, the government tried to reassure the population. Spokespeople called it manageable, a biological anomaly, but Halcyon's skyline soon told another story. Fires raged uncontrolled. Streets became battlegrounds between the infected who had gained powers and those who remained fragile, terrified humans. One truth became undeniable. This was no ordinary sickness. This was evolution unchained. Among the infected was Dr. Lena Veyra, a virologist studying the strain. When she contracted it, she prepared herself for death. Instead, she awoke with a sharpened mind that processed data like lightning. Equations unfolded behind her eyes. She could see molecular bonds as glowing threads, hear the pulse of viral replication like a drumbeat in her skull. She became the first to understand the strain's nature. It isn't random, she told her dwindling team of scientists. It's designed. Every alteration serves a purpose. This is no accident of nature. But before she could unravel its origins, military command ordered her lab dismantled. Research was now classified. Soldiers in black masks carted away samples, hard drives, and even the bodies of the mutated dead. Lena realized too late, the government didn't want to stop the strain. They wanted to harness it. As days became weeks, civilization began to fracture. Police forces abandoned their posts. Hospitals overflowed, then burned. Markets were looted, power grids faltered, and entire districts descended into lawless zones ruled by gangs of the catalyzed. Some mutations brought strength or speed. Others bred horror, twisted forms with bone spurs for arms, or mouths filled with serrated teeth. Those unstable hosts often died violently, but not before spreading the strain further. News feeds showed images of superhuman clashes in downtown Halcyon. A teenager hurling cars with his mind, a woman engulfed in living fire. Soldiers trying to respond were torn apart or converted by infection. The catalyst strain was no longer a disease. It was an uprising written into the genome of humanity. Amid the ruins, small groups of survivors clung to order. Captain Joren Hale, a veteran of off-world wars, gathered civilians into the underground metro tunnels. There, they rationed food, water, and whispered fears. Joren had seen entire colonies fall before, but never to something like this. This isn't war, he told his people. It's contagion. You can't reason with it. Yet his resolve wavered when one of his own, a child named Mira, survived infection and gained the ability to heal wounds with a touch. Her gift kept the resistance alive, even as they faced raids from powered gangs above. Mira's existence posed a question no one wanted to answer. Was the strain humanity's doom, or its salvation? Far from the tunnels, in fortified towers untouched by riots, the elite conducted experiments. Corporations and military juntas funneled infected subjects into secret labs. Soldiers strapped to operating tables screamed as their DNA unraveled and reknit. Some emerged stronger, faster, obedient. Others emerged only as corpses. Rumors spoke of a covert squad called Project Aegis, catalyzed operatives molded into living weapons. Their existence was denied, yet strange figures in armored suits appeared at key battles, cutting down infected with brutal precision. Lena, hunted by her own government, whispered the truth to anyone who would listen. The strain is being weaponized. But no one outside her dwindling circle of allies believed. By the third month, the strain was global. Cargo ships, refugees, even birds carried it across oceans. Cities crumbled, nations fractured. New empires rose, ruled not by governments but by the strongest of the catalyzed. In Halcyon, 2 factions emerged: the Ascended, those who embraced their powers as destiny, and the Bound, survivors who clung to old humanity. Their battles painted the skyline in fire and ash. Joren's resistance was caught in the middle, forced to choose whether to ally with catalyzed warlords or fight both sides. The strain was no longer just spreading, it was shaping a new world. Deep beneath the city, Mira's gift of healing changed everything. Survivors whispered that she was proof the strain wasn't only a curse. With her touch, shattered bones mended, infections vanished, and morale rose. But miracles drew attention. One night, as the tunnels echoed with dripping water and hushed prayers, Joren spotted movement on the scanners. A squad of armored soldiers was closing in, their helmets marked with the insignia of Project Aegis. They weren't here for supplies, they were here for Mira. The firefight in the tunnels was brutal. Joren's resistance was outgunned, but Mira's presence saved lives again and again, her small hands glowing as bullets and burns were mended. In the chaos, Joren realized the truth. To the government, Mira wasn't a child. She was a weapon, and weapons were meant to be claimed. They barely escaped, fleeing deeper into the labyrinth of Halcyon's undercity. Mira's quiet words haunted Joren. Why do they want me? I just want to help. Dr. Lena Veyra had been on the run for weeks, moving from safe house to safe house with stolen research. Exhausted, paranoid, she finally contacted Joren's resistance. In the flickering light of a broken metro station, she shared what she knew. The catalyst strain was engineered, not by any Earth lab, but by something older. She showed them alien symbols burned into protein chains, instructions woven into human-compatible DNA. It wasn't meant to kill us, she explained, eyes hollow from sleepless nights. It was meant to prepare us. For what? I don't know, but if the entire species is altered, we stop being human in the way we understand it. Her words silenced the room. The survivors stared at Mira, at her glowing hands, at the mutations tearing their world apart. Were they evolving into something greater, or something no longer human at all? Lena's revelation divided the resistance. Some saw hope. If humanity could survive the transition, maybe a brighter future awaited. Others saw only extinction of what they were. Joren wrestled with the choice. His instincts screamed to protect his people from the strain at all costs. But he couldn't deny that Mira's healing had saved them more than guns ever had. Arguments turned into shouting. Fists were thrown. Families abandoned the tunnels to seek sanctuary with ascended warlords who promised safety in exchange for loyalty. Meanwhile, above ground, the city tore itself apart. Towers toppled, skies lit with fire, and mutated creatures prowled the ruins. Humanity wasn't losing control, it had already lost it. When Project Aegis finally revealed itself, it was on a scale no one had imagined. Columns of armored catalyzed soldiers swept through Halcyon, crushing both ascended warbands and bound enclaves. They moved with unnatural synchronicity, their eyes glowing faintly as though sharing a hive mind. Joren's resistance fought back, but it was like throwing stones at tanks. Mira healed as many as she could, but for each life she saved, 10 more were lost. Captured Aegis soldiers revealed the truth. Their powers were stabilized through constant injections of synthesized strain. They were not free, they were prisoners in their own bodies, bound by chemical chains to the generals who commanded them. It was then Lena understood the true danger. If the strain can be controlled, she said grimly, then whoever holds that control will rule the future of humanity. Weeks later, as Halcyon burned around them, Joren, Lena, and Mira stood before the city's shattered reactor complex. Inside, deep within abandoned labs, Lena had discovered the origin point, the first intact catalyst sample, glowing faintly in its containment capsule. If we destroy it, Joren said, we cripple their ability to make more Aegis soldiers. But if we study it, Lena countered, we might learn how to stabilize the strain for everyone. No more monsters, no more death, a controlled evolution. Mira placed her small hand against the capsule, eyes wide with childlike awe. It feels alive, she whispered. The decision loomed like a blade over them. Burn it, and cling to the fragile remains of humanity. Keep it, and gamble on becoming something new. In the end, it wasn't Joren or Lena who chose. It was Mira. With a trembling breath, she pressed her hand to the capsule, and the glass shattered like ice. The catalyst strain poured out in a flood of shimmering motes, enveloping them all. Joren screamed as strength surged through his veins. Lena fell to her knees, her mind igniting with impossible clarity. Mira stood at the center, glowing like a star, as if the virus recognized her as its true vessel. Above, the skies over Halcyon lit with auroras. Across the world, those already infected convulsed as their powers synchronized, harmonized, like notes in a vast unseen symphony. The strain had chosen. Humanity was no longer fractured between sick, stable, or monstrous. They were becoming one, but what they were becoming was no longer human. When the sun rose over Halcyon, it rose on a new species. The old governments were ashes. The bound and the ascended no longer mattered. Every living human carried the strain. Balanced now, gifts awakened. Some wept, believing themselves damned. Others rejoiced, embracing the birth of a new world. Joren looked out across the skyline, flames still smoldering, and asked the only question that mattered. If we are no longer human, what are we? Lena had no answer. Mira only smiled, her eyes shining with quiet certainty. Something better. And above them, in the cold silence of space, something stirred as if the strain's true makers had been waiting all along to see what their creation would become.